Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. This is the post-lunch session on Regional Management Conclave that is focused on innovation in the age of disruption, jointly organized by All India Management Association and Kerala Management Association. We hope you enjoyed your meal. We're just expecting guests to walk in, but we thought we would start off on time. We will start with the third plenary session for the day. That is the first plenary session post-lunch. From a small seed, a mighty trunk may grow, we say. So all through the day, we've been hoping the discussions, the deliberations will lead to certain sparks, seeds of thought, seeds of ideas. And the third session is focused on marketing disrupted, reinventing persuasion. As a prologue to it, marketing has been disrupted by technology as media has become personal and customization has taken over from mass messaging and persuasion. The market demographic is changing and the young customers are technology natives. Acquiring new customers and holding on to existing relationships are getting difficult for legacy companies as digital disruptors are taking away their business slice by slice. So it has become important to align marketing infrastructure. To speak on the topic, marketing disrupted, reinventing persuasion, we have two panelists and we have a moderator who will be coming up on stage. The distinguished panel of speakers are Ms. Anusha Shetty, CEO Autumn Gray, and Mr. Vinod Chandran, Director Business Strategies, Logic School of Management. It is with great joy that I invite the panelists on stage who will be escorted by the chair, Mr. Jibu Paul. Please, we'd like to have all of you on stage. Mr. Jibu Paul, who will be chairing the session, is the CEO and brand strategist of Brand Brains, a brand and PR consulting firm. He has 25 years of expertise in brand communications and in advertising, and he is currently the Senior Vice President of KMA. Over to Mr. Jibu Paul.
Good afternoon, dear friends. Good afternoon. Oh, all are alive. Thank you. After a heavy lunch, what next? A small nap. Yes, it is for most of us. But today, in this disruptive world, your sleep will also be disrupted. By two eminent young innovative speakers, I'll introduce them to you in few minutes. We all heard about disruptive world, disruptive sleep, disruptive marketing, disruptive innovation, haven't we? A classic example of disruptive innovation is the rise of Netflix and how they challenge the livelihood of video rental stores and cable TV. It's a very big case study. The way disruptive innovation turns existing business upside down. Disruptive marketing looks at the best practices and techniques that everyone is using, the platforms they are on, the slogans they use, and come out with a business model that can change the direction of the market completely opposite. Disruptive marketing always seeks out the new cutting edge way of doing something, taking advantage of new social platforms and new technologies. Beyond that, disruptive marketing seeks to break through the noise of modern marketing and truly hit home with customers. Industry 4.0 is bringing digitization and connectivity to every aspect of your business. But many companies getting ready for digital age are still not clear on what processes, technologies and strategies to adopt and when to enter into it. Even worse, many believe that Industry 4.0 is just an IT thing. What is Industry 4.0? It is all about data analytics, intelligent company with full control over the data. Many companies perceive Industry 4.0 adoption as more of an obligation than an opportunity, something to be relegated to an IT department rather than presented as a strategic company-wide initiative. The marketing department of the future will be connected, optimized, transparent, proactive, and agile. Digital marketing can help companies understand what buyers are doing at every stage of the funnel and how to meet them where they are with the right information. All of your efforts are trackable and measurable, allowing you to make data-driven decisions and react faster to change in the marketplace. They enable the company with the right tools to travel with their customers. Once your digital marketing infrastructure is set up, you will layer it with content and analytics on top of it. You will baseline, test and recalibrate based on those analytics and make data-driven decisions about where to invest and what to abandon, what's working and what's not. You will combine your own media tactics, like your own company blog, with paid and earned media tactics, such as a guest blog on an industry site or by the influencers with your outbound activities like print media and events to create a complete marketing communication online and offline media mix. The best part of online media is that it's clearly measurable, unlike other media. So you'll always know your marketing return on investment and be able to budget in a more proactive way. State of e-commerce is also rapidly evolving from 2018. Incumbent players are seeking to dominate the landscape through their private labels, enhanced SEO promotions, unmatched logistics capabilities and acquisitions. At the same time, startups are making room for themselves through direct to customer and subscription business models, putting an increased effort into curation and the personalization of the customer's journey. Small and big e-commerce players are out there trying to make a digital disruption and competing with their digital experience platform, commonly called as DXP. Retail is taking a slow death, and online players are making every effort to get the consumer and brand closer and closer. Adoption of chatbots, artificial intelligence, machine learning, smart home assistants or voice recognition systems like Alexa. I think you all are familiar with all these terms, are leading the consumers to an ultimate personalized experience. Now that is the order of the day. So many students are sitting here from MBA schools and other institutions. So the marketing as such is slightly or rapidly moving to the digital marketing era. In our new world, the fastest learner survives. This is a real fact. So once again, good afternoon to you all. Now let me introduce our speakers. A chartered accountant by profession and an alumni from IIM Lucknow, he started his career with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and played a pivotal role in pricing of many helicopter projects for major contracts under Ministry of Defense. Later he joined Capgemini France at its senior management level for heading the commercial finance globally. Also worked as the financial controller of India operations of CenturyLink Technologies USA. He is one of the founder directors of Logic School of Management, a leading professional education institute in India, which offers courses like CA, CMA, CPA, etc. And now he is the brand custodian of Logic. Welcome Mr. Vinod to this session. Most sought after advertising and marketing professional who has served brands like Intel, Titan, Unilever, Honeywell, and worked with globally reputed agencies Love, Lindas, and Euro RSCG. With over 20 years of marketing and advertising experience and a transnational career across India and the Silicon Valley, Ms. Anusha is the co-founder and CEO of Autumn Worldwide, a hyper-specialized digital marketing firm, which is a part of Group M, and WPP is the parent company. Last year, Grey Group acquired majority stake in Autumn Worldwide. In her current role, she is responsible for organizational growth, innovations, planning, and operations. She is also on the board of Mobile Marketing Association of India and recently won the Corporate Excellence Award for Women at Work Leadership. Women Ahead Award by Times of Economic Times, one among the 100 top digital marketers in India, listed by plural site Digi100, Social Media Superwoman 2019 by Social Samosa. Welcome to God's Own Country, Ms. Anusha. So with this introduction about the subject and the speakers, we will start with Mr. Vinod. Welcome, Vinod.
Good afternoon, friends. I completely understand the disruptive challenges of a post-lunch session. So, would like to bring some innovative methods to ensure that the disruption being overcome. I've been asked to present on marketing disruption and reinvention. What are the ways we could reinvent? Let's go back to the fundamentals, wherein the management guru Peter Drucker has once mentioned, marketing is business. Ironically, Peter Drucker is not a marketing guru, he is a management guru. Maybe that credit must go to Philip Kotler. I believe strongly those sentences, that may be the reason why when AIMA invited me, being from a core finance professional, now taking care of the CMO role of Logic, thought I could present my views on the disruptive world we are going through. When we say disruptive, if you look at the present market situation, we are in a world where mobile phones are being replaced by smartphones. You know, the taxis has been replaced by Ubers, and the restaurants being replaced with app-based food providers. So in this scenario, How we survive marketing is a critical question. When we look at from logic point of view, an educational institution who targets millennials who are between the age of 20 to 30, it's an extreme tough situation that we move towards an industry 4.0. Reason being, you don't see people reading newspaper today. You don't see people watching TVs. I'm saying about the young generation. So there has been a transformation shift from the conventional ways. Even when we look at industry as a large, marketing may be one segment which has gone through phenomenal changes. There may be reasons like customer perception, technological changes. There will be macro reasons like globalization. All these attributed to the major impact of marketing segment. Maybe the other segments of finance or HR or the operations or supply chains wouldn't have undergone so much of drastic changes. So it is important that in this era, how we cope the marketing part of business so that we meet the challenges in our way. So with that context, I try to put my presentation into 3 segments. The first part, what are the marketing challenges we face in this technologically changing world? Second one, the key role of a chief marketing officer, and maybe few insights on the digital marketing part with my limited understanding. So coming to the first point, the challenges in marketing in this digital world, Industry 4.0, I would like to call it as ABCD of marketing. A stands for artificial intelligence. 10 years back, when we think about only about Manorama and Madhrubhumi, today we cannot survive with that. The business cannot run with that. Few years back, we were looking only for references. Because of the quality of education, we will get references. Today we cannot bind only on that. There is a situation we have to adapt to the changes, wherein the options like search engine optimization, Google search options, all these are evolved over a period of time. So we have to adapt to those changes. One of the key factors marketers, by using AI, what they think is how I can become personalization, how I can target my customer to the core personalized way. If I give a very simple example, suppose you are getting an invitation for a program and it is addressed at, hi, you are invited on first instance. Suppose in a different way, if it is coming as, hi, Mr. Rahul, you are being invited. Which one will make you more attractive? Definitely the later one. Because you are being personalized there. So in today's world, the customer is expect personalization, and I could say around 53% as per the studies, the marketer's effort is to personalize that. In logic, what we try to do the same way. Our effort is to ensure that how we make maximum personalization rather than going at a macro level. So when I say personalization, it takes me to the next point, B, balancing of personalization with privacy. Tell me something, how many of you here sitting would not receive a call from a credit card company or a banking company every day in your meeting? You are irritated and cutting the phone, changing your mood. We could say that most of us face through that. Am I correct? What is the reason for that? It is intrusion into your privacy. So when we look at in this digitalized world, it is important that when we go personalization, we need to protect the privacy part of it. It is very important. Otherwise, it have a negative impact. Every day I get a call from this bank. Arey yaar, how I'm irritated. I put it into the don't disturb. I feel that attitude. So how we change accordingly. So one of the ways we try to do personalization and privacy, at the same time, it is important we cannot keep quiet also, because we have to bring the business. So one of the ways is different methodologies we adopt is, maybe if I am sending a message, we call it a 7 days plan. One day it may be an SMS about the general product which is going on. Second day maybe a WhatsApp which is going on, with a introduction of the programs or stuff. Third day maybe a call going. Fourth day, the person opening the Facebook, a message, pop-up message goes in. Fifth day, he is opening the mail, a mail coming in. So it becomes more of, if he is interested, he can read it, otherwise just ignore. So we try to create a privacy, a balance between, I would say, personalization and privacy. Now the third point, C, is about cross-channel engagement. In today's world, though we are at Industry 4.0, we cannot move completely into a situation wherein, okay, it is a digital world, let us look at only at digital. A place like Kerala, I specifically say Kerala, you will see at 7 o'clock father watching the news. Particularly, this is a time where election is happening. At 8 o'clock, you see mother seeing an entertainment channel. So you cannot have a situation, it is only digital. You need to have a balance between your conventional business models, marketing models, which is your latest trends. So what we need to do, you need to have a cross-channel engagement. So this year, Logic has initiated few initiatives where, television commercials we initiated. So a parent seeing a television commercial, or a family which is seeing a television commercial, who goes out, maybe going through the highway, they see some hoardings. I'm saying about a cross-channel. It's not a single channel, it is cross-channel. They see the hoardings. Then they go for a movie in the evening, in theater they see this advertisement. The son goes back and opens the Facebook, he sees the advertisements. So there is an importance that it is not about single media. Why I'm saying 10 years back, if you look at, as I mentioned, it was only an advertisement in a newspaper. But that's not the case today. We have an opportunity, because of this disruption, to have cross-channel engagement. So that is something we try to capitalize in this changing eras. It takes to the fourth point, D, data proliferation. I still remember when we started 15 years back, to get 15 database, let's say 15, I say 15 leads, I have to spend so and so amount in a leading newspaper and wait for the calls. Today the situation has changed. Today my worry is I have across Kerala data is available, across India data is available. How I manage this data? How I reach out to this crowd? How I store my data? How I personalize this data? So data proliferation has been a major change, happens with, I would say, Industry 4.0. It is not the case with a SME company. If you look at the larger companies, let's say larger companies have a bigger problem of data storage, they resolve into cloud segment and other options. How the data security has to be done. So today it is a completely transformed world. You have some other problems compared to earlier days. But I would say it as a positive problems wherein you are moving ahead in the ladder and it's about managing things. The fifth part is about experiences, customer experiences. Under the ABCD, E, experiences. The time may change, it may be Industrial Revolution 3, Industrial Revolution 4, whatever it may be, the fundamentals of marketing remain same. It is about customer experience and satisfaction. It doesn't change. Whichever industrial revolution, even in future, ultimately what matters is whether my customer is satisfied. From a marketer's point, it doesn't end there. How I market that customer satisfaction is my key point. For which, Industry 4 has helped me a lot, wherein today if I have a testimonial, I can reach out to maximum crowd, wherein to the target group. Earlier days I have a testimonial, I will hang it in my office. Today, if there is a testimonial video, I can reach out to any group of crowd based on the requirement. A testimonial is the easiest way to have more sales coming in. So these are the few, I would say, ABCD of marketing in the changing world of Industry 4.0. Now coming to my second point, the role of a chief marketing officer. The role of a chief marketing officer. Now is Industry 4.0 coming up. it is important that all segments of business also get updated. But at the same time, it is most important that the key role is placed by the Chief Marketing Officer. I'm ignoring that testimonial. It was more intended to show towards customer satisfaction. For the paucity of time, I'll push that. So when we look at, just one second. When we look at customer satisfaction is one point where we highlight the significance in the last slide. Now the role of a Chief Marketing Officer, when we say, the fundamental role is the ability to adapt to the situation. He should ensure that he adapts to the changes. When I took over the role of a CMO 1 year back, there was a situation wherein we could not generate the maximum digital lead. Whereas we have a retainer who helps us, who's a digital consultant, was helping us for promoting this SEO stuff. But the more we adapt and engage with them, we realize that there are huge potentials. Today we have increased our leads to 10 times compared to earlier days, and the revenue growth of almost 115%. That is attributable only because of we adapt to the changes. Second point is on the visualization. A CMO has to be really visualized what is going to happen. I need not mention about the Nokia story, which is a very old story these days. Unless we visualize what is going to happen at next level, it is difficult to survive. It is most important. Now, one additional point, just one second. Excuse me. Yeah, thank you. See, one additional point, Chief Marketing Officer, however agile he may be, it is important that he takes his management together. You understand what is the changes happening, you understand what is the digital technological changes happening, but if you are not convincing your Chief Financial Officer, who may be a conventional person, you cannot survive. So it is important that you take the management together in your role as a Chief Marketing Officer when it comes to adapting changes. Now, earlier days we used to say that we need to have so-and-so fund for marketing, so-and-so fund for research of my products. But today's world, whatever be based on the size of the organization, it is important that a certain percentage has to be kept on marketing research also. Maybe a very nominal percentage, that's fine, but there has to be a percentage to be kept as your marketing research fund. Reason being, there are so much of dynamic changes happening, competitors are coming up, so much of vibrant industrial changes, the economy is opening up like anything. You need to adapt to those changes. You need to have a research team which is coming up. Now coming to the last point on the digital part of it. See, when we say digital marketing options, the fundamental options what we have, as you know, on the digital side is on the Google part. You have a situation where you have Google search engine is there, you can put a Google advertisement. You know, even that has gone now today. So today, it is not about I come top on Google, it is about how I consistently have this cross channel coming in and ensure that. Simple example, somebody looking at Google, your institute, whether it is coming on top, yes, that is good. But that is not enough today. What is required is, the first thing the user is doing is, go to Google, after that what is the next step? Immediately he go and check Google reviews. He go to your Facebook page, he go to your Instagram, he goes to your LinkedIn, and try to understand. So it is important that it is not just Google today. You have to have cross-channel across that digital space to ensure that you meet up with the requirement of the customer. Then there are other target-based audience. Today I have so-and-so students in my organization. So I know the behavior, general behavior of those students. I can target to a larger audience with the same group, with the same mentality, the same ideologies. I will be able to follow them, very effectively with this digital media options. I have programs like CMA USA, CPA USA. Anywhere in the globe, anybody showing interest in that, I can reach to their inbox with the latest technologies I have. Of course, if there is a balance has to be done, whether you need to, return on investment, you need to look at. But what I'm trying to say, in this digital era, with so much of options around, it is when we say disruption as something, all these discussions when I see disruption, okay, disruption has happened, how we cope up with the challenges, all these things. For me, disruption is an opportunity. It has created an opportunity to become global. Earlier, I was having an office in Cochin. Today, I am going pan-India, and there is opportunities of thinking pan-Asia. Reason being only because everything, I can have the WebEx classes happening from India. My students are from Middle East and other countries. All these wouldn't have been possible but for Industry 4.0. So my appeal to you, whenever you hear disruption, if you look at the first slide, this is one of the, general picture which is being displayed with respect to disruption. But disruption has another definition, an opportunity. So let us look at that opportunity, new areas of growth through this changing eras. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vinod, for the ABCDE of marketing. And the C was quite interesting, which is the media, cross-media planning, which will definitely catch the customers while from home till he comes back or reach back home. And next we will hear from the horse's mouth, which is the provider or the implementer. Vinod was actually the user, or he was the beneficiary, and here we can hear from Ms. Anusha regarding the implementation side or the provider's side. Please.
I'm running there. I can't see it. Okay, great. Thanks. Can I get a caller mic? Is that a possibility? Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, AIMA. Thank you, KMA. Thank you, all of you, for having me here. I'm proud to be on this panel with the two professionals here. I'm going to just jump straight into this subject that's disrupted the whole world, actually. Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you all hear me? Okay, great. How do I use this? Okay, great. Thanks. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me. So what I'm going to do is really jump into the subject directly. I'm here to speak on a subject that I'm passionate about, and obviously the whole world is passionate about it. marketing being disrupted is something that the world is talking about. Actually, why marketing? Actually, every industry has been disrupted today by the same subject, right? Digital has pretty much taken over every industry and category, and so has it with the marketing industry. What we'll do is just quickly look at it and see why the whole world is actually talking about marketing being distracted. You know, what is it? You know, why are we even talking about it? So let's just quickly look at some numbers and data and statistics to do with digital in India. Just look at these numbers, okay? I have a pointer here and I'm going to try and use this also. Just look at it. We've got this population in India. Look at the number of SIMs in our country. This is the population, 1.33 billion, but we've got more than 1.19 SIMs in our country. Yeah? We've got around 374 million and above smartphones. How many of us here have a smartphone? Can we quickly look at a show of hands? See, quick look at the number. Just look around you and see that this number actually could be pessimistic. Right? This is the official number that's been, you know, obviously declared, but obviously your gut feel says that the number is a lot more. Let's look at the number of internet users in our country today. Out of the 1.33 billion, we're talking about 580 million people on the internet. Isn't that a big number? 392 million people and more on social media specifically. 170 million households. Why did I put this up? You know, traditionally the world of marketing has been used to watching TV. If anybody wanted to, any marketer wanted to, you know, have a lot of budgets and wanted to do a nice, lovely, large, you know, media, multimedia campaign, TV would dominate this whole media possibilities, right? Today in our country, if we switch on every TV set in our country, we've got 170 million TV sets in our country. Now let's assume that there are 4 people per TV set. So we're talking about 680 million people watching TV if you switch on all the TV sets in the country. As against that, we're talking about 580 million people on the internet today. Very, very close to a industry that's dominated us for many, many, many years till now. Yeah? Now let's look at print. Every single print publication in our country, including languages, if you look total up the whole circulation of all print, all put together is only 130 million. There is no doubt that TV is very large. But let me ask you all a question. How many of you watch TV today? Please raise your hands. And I want all of you to just look around and see the answer. How many of you are on your mobile watching something or the other? Whether you're reading something or whether you are, you know, on a social media platform like Facebook, or you're surfing on YouTube, maybe Netflix. How many of you are on a digital platform through your mobile or on a desktop? It really doesn't matter. Again, please look around. See the answer. And this is a question that I'm asking all of you. 680 million people on the TV sets today. Who's watching it? Yes, the number is there. Who's watching it? But look around you when I say we have 580 million people on the internet, either connected through the desktop or through a mobile, and see who's on it. Now tell me, as a marketer, if you're still releasing your ads on TV and not seeing results in sales, do you know the answer? Because your people are not there anymore. Your people are on the net. They are digitally aligned right now. And you're still doing a lot of work in the traditional world. Obviously, your world is disrupted. And you don't know how to do digital because we're all still learning. Our life is disrupted. You get this whole issue? Now let's look at some more numbers associated with this, okay? Let's look at this. A lot of people, I mean, this is really to quickly give us a feel for the, if India was an internet population and if our internet numbers actually defined, the size of our country, we would be the second largest country in the world. China is the only country at 746 million people on the internet, followed by India. We are currently around 580 million people. We expect to be 627 by June. And look at the other countries. And look at the numbers associated with this. Let's look at another angle on this, okay? A lot of people believe, a lot of marketeers especially believe, that this whole digital marketing is an urban phenomena. Has nothing to do with rural India, and a lot of our products go into rural India. So therefore, we still need to be on TV in many different ways. But look at this, what this data is telling us. The blue color shows urban growth of internet. Yes, for the longest time, urban drove the internet penetration in India. But look at what's growing today, orange. So if we believe rural is not part of this, you know, I was in a small town, I'd gone with my parents to this pilgrimage spot called Kashi, and I was shocked at the number of small vendors and street vendors on the roads watching some video program on their mobile platform. So if we believe that digital content and, you know, and the whole world of digital hasn't affected rural India, then we are completely in the blind on this subject. Very clearly, numbers show that rural is what is driving internet penetration in India now. I'm going to show you another angle on this whole thing, right? This is really to do with people who are accessing the internet from a desktop and accessing an internet from a mobile. The blue color shows that people are accessing from a mobile. Orange shows the number of people accessing from a desktop. So, as a marketeer, if we are still developing content that looks beautiful on a desktop, then we are doing something wrong. Our life is disrupted because traditionally, our creative guys are used to working on these beautiful Mac machines, making beautiful designs that look absolutely sexy on a desktop. But people are not on a desktop. They're watching everything on the small screen and device, and the world looks extremely different on a mobile device. You could make it look pretty and beautiful on a desktop, but if it's not even readable on a mobile, then you've lost that customer. So I think what we need to really look at is the reason why the whole marketing world is feeling a disruption. Data and figures very clearly show us there is something very different happening in this world. Let's look at something else. Yeah, this really shows us the gender. For the longest time, a lot of us believed that only men dominated the internet. That number is changing. It's almost getting equal now. Or, very often I go into a client meeting and clients believe that this is for the younger generation and not for the older generation. Look at this number. Under 25 used to be a dominating number on the internet in 2013, no longer from 2018. Above 25 has become the dominating number. So literally every myth we had is honestly broken. And even today, if we don't migrate, jump, and do everything that we need to do with the digital world, then we will get left behind and we will lose out for our brands and the companies we represent. Yeah, and that's really what the data is showing us. 730 million people will be on the internet by 2020, next year. And this is the year that life will change even more drastically, because until then, people even now say that TV is still the most dominating. And we did a show of hands very clearly to show that people are hardly watching TV. But even let's assume they are. In 2020, this number gets broken, because like I said, if you switch on every single TV set in our country, you can only reach 680 million people. This number gets shattered next year when the prediction is 730 million people on the internet from India alone. So I think the time has come, and I don't think we can actually even rethink this subject. Yes, the world is disrupted. We need to definitely look at the world of marketing and see what we can do, and I have some recommendations to make. But the last 2-3 slides on data again, what this slide shows really is that people consuming digital content in India is much higher than the global average. If the global average is at 55%, we are at 67%. India and China are behaving extremely different from the rest of the world. Everything, whether it's to do with social media, messaging, anything, and these are India's numbers, and every single number is higher than the global average. So, you know, very often again, you know, I've been told, and the last 5 years I've been questioned on this by a lot of marketers would say, you know, US didn't succeed. They have been on the internet way long ago. How come it hasn't disrupted retail there? How come retail shops still exist? How come online shopping has not still taken over the world? A lot of questions that you ask about the US or UK is not relevant for countries like India and China. And look at our averages, much, much higher in terms of usage. To do with research, Vinod spoke a lot about search engines and how you need to, again, the global averages are much, much lower compared to India. I think the point I'm trying to make really is that when every bit of data that I've showed you right now shows our world is disrupted, and yes, it is the truth, and this is the reason why the world is disrupted. Last slide on data, and I thought this data would actually bring us down to some amount of logic and practicality. The last slide, and if you look at this, here's a study that was done which shows various kinds of communication and marketing platforms, right? TV, print, cinema, everything, including social networks and digital. If you look at heavy users out of the 100% for each of this, right? Look at the heavy users, all the medians have dropped. When it comes to, for example, press, only 2.9% of India's population is heavy user of press. But look at the number when it comes to digital. This kind of number you cannot see as a heavy user anywhere. Very interesting fact. So not only are they on the internet, they're heavy users on the internet, which clearly indicates our lives have completely changed, right? So what do we do? I mean, all this data is great, and we know that the world is disrupted, and as marketers, we need to reinvent ourselves. So what do we do? Sorry, I didn't realize I had 2 more slides of data. What this basically shows is, for a marketer, and because we're talking about marketing being disrupted, I've got 2 slides which actually show, not only does data show the people and the consumption habit of data and digital is higher, what this slide shows is the life of a marketer and budgets. This shows globally, if I look at all kinds of data and if I look at the kind of numbers that are rising, digital spends globally is 46.3% of the overall budget. That's a big number. 50% almost of the total budgets, marketing budget is being spent on digital. Let's just look at India specifically, slightly behind. TV still dominates at 5.16 billion, and digital is at almost half of this. Again, logic, and we have to ask ourselves, who is this marketer and why is he or she spending money on TV? If people are not on TV, and we all saw that just here, and this is the true reflection of India. But this is really where, if our entire industry has been disrupted, as marketeers, we need to disrupt ourselves. If we don't disrupt ourselves, we are not going to see efficiency coming out for ourselves and the brands that we represent. So I've got 5 recommendations for you. Let me quickly tell you as a marketer, and as from where I see it, what are the 5 things I would love you to practice, and that could help you manage this whole disrupted world. Here's number 1. Set objectives for digital. Very often, and I'll tell you stories, I can tell you a lot of stories in this whole thing, is very often people like to release TV ads. Marketers will release a TV ad and try and do some adaptation for digital, and then complain saying digital didn't work for me, right? You will release a TV ad, and then you will tell your digital agency to do some adaptation of that for digital, and then complain saying digital is not working. I don't know, I'm not confident digital is not working, I'm not feeling the pulse. This is the kind of language that marketers use with their agencies right now. And our question and my recommendation for you is set an objective for digital. And I want to take a lovely example of one of the clients that we manage on what I mean by setting objectives for digital. Now here's a client called Big Bazaar, right? Traditionally, Big Bazaar has always been known to release TV ads. They do nothing but TV, and they spend crores of rupees on TV. This is really the way they live, So what used to happen for a very long time is they continue to spend that kind of money on TV, and then they would give us a little bit of that budget and say, okay, here's something, you also do something on digital. So we also did something on digital. Now when 99.9% of the money is being spent on TV, and you give us a 0.0 whatever percent of on digital, you will not feel the impact, right? Because literally whatever happened because of TV. So, one of those days Kishore Vianney came up and said, I don't trust digital works, but if you want to prove to me that digital works, then you have to prove to me. right? So we said if we have to prove to you digital works, let's set a different objective for digital. And I just want to show you how this works, right? So what we did really is they have one property called Sabse Saste Chedin. I don't know if you all know about this. There is, in a year, there is a property of called Sabse Saste Chedin, which means these 6 days you will find all products at its lowest prices inside a big bazaar store. And they normally do TV ads and everything else. So we said, what can be a digital objective for the same asset that they were creating where they were making TV ads, right? So we looked at their entire data, and one of the realizations that happened is normally people who go into a big bazaar store are slightly older people, right? We realized the younger generation, the millennials, right, were not going into the big bazaar stores. It was not a habit. The parents were going, the older siblings were going, but the younger millennials were not going into a big bazaar store. There was a reason. There was a reason why they were not going. And that was because big bazaar is very, very crowded. Nobody likes to stand in those queues. Our young millennials don't have the patience levels to definitely do it. They would rather do something online or something, but not go and waste time standing in a queue. So we said, why don't we set a different objective for the same property for digital? What we did really is we said, the objective for digital, for the same property of Sabse Saste Jadin, is to attract millennials into our store. If the TV advertising was bringing a lot of awareness and participation from the older generation, we said, can we do something different from what the TV is doing, which allows us to bring in the millennials into the store, right? We got a little insight, and this little insight came from Tirupati actually, right? If you go to Tirupati, and I still do it, and my parents still do it, the whole perception in the mind is Tirupati is crowded. You have to stand for hours in the queue. It's a perception in the mind. Now there is something called the VVIP counter in Tirupati. You pay some $100 or $200, you feel good, you are cutting that queue for some reason. You still stand for 3 hours, by the way. But that's a different point. You, in the mind, I have bought this ticket, I am going to stand lesser number of hours, so therefore my darshan will be easier, faster, I am going to be out, right? Insight came from Tirupati, and we said, why don't we apply this insight? What we did is we opened an online booking form called the VVIP checkout counter. So we knew people on the internet were younger audiences, so we attracted to come and register themselves for this offer. They had to pre-book this offer by buying this at 100 rupees, right? And at the time of checkout, we told them, we will give you a separate checkout counter. You will not need to stand in the same queue. We will give you a separate checkout counter, and you encash this 100 rupees that you paid right now against that bill of yours. We attracted a new set of audiences with this campaign, right? It was not the same audience. A new set of audiences came in, bringing in new revenue into the company that had never happened earlier. Now, why did I say set digital objectives? Do we always have to do something different from TV? No, but know what you want to do. If you don't know what you want out of digital, because you will never put 100% effort into digital right now because the heart is still doing TV, you will never be able to test it to see if it works unless you set clear digital objectives. However small the objective is, set it and see if it works, doesn't work. So that was the first example that I wanted to show you. So the first point I want to make is set digital objectives, because if you don't set the right digital objectives and you make it too generic, you will never be able to do the right thing from digital, right? Measure it, convince people, build confidence. There's a whole lot of things associated with digital which is making every marketer uncomfortable today. The second suggestion I have is invest in it. Having set your objectives, invest in it. A lot of people, marketers, think digital is free. Digital is not free. It is not at all free. However, it is much more cost effective than another medium like TV. But it still needs investment. So if you're expecting to do, I have a lot of clients who work with us, who pay as a retainer, like Vinod pays his agency a retainer. They pay as a retainer. So we do a lot of work, he keeps us busy. But it is not creating value for him. Why? Because he doesn't want to invest in it. They just make us do a lot of creatives. We put it up on our Facebook pages. We put it up on some LinkedIn page somewhere. Who is seeing it? Nobody is seeing it. Nobody wants to come to somebody else's page and see it. The way the social and the digital world works is the piece of content comes to you. You don't go to the piece of content. For it to come to you, you have to push it with media behind. If you don't push it with media, it is like, you know, stitching lots of good clothes and keeping it in your cupboard. You will be happy. It's there in your cupboard. You kept the agency busy. But nobody is seeing it. So it is not free. So I want to give you an example, right? I'm going to show you this table that I put together just to show you this. Here's a set of bikes, okay, in the market today. And there are a lot of campaigns that they're running. Currently, this is a kind of result they are seeing. Very small, 331, 427. You know, I mean, this is an engagement number. And even if you don't get lost in jargons, what I want you to understand really is that they're getting very small results out of doing work in the digital space. However, audience for each of these bikes is big. There are so many million people on the internet who are the right people for each of these bikes. But they're getting only this kind of results. Obviously, a marketer is going to feel uncomfortable. He's like, what is this? I'm doing work, I'm paying agency retainer fee, it's too much, and I'm getting only this much result. I don't believe in digital. And this is automatic. Everything comes down to I don't believe in digital, right? So this is really what I meant. So even if you spend something as low as 2 lakhs, this, instead of getting 331, I could have got this kind of a number. If I spend something as low as 2 lakh rupees, which is really negligible, it is not free, but you still need to put money behind it. I think the point I'm trying to make is that invest in it. It is not free, it is not expensive, it is cost effective. But if you don't invest in it and keep getting somebody to make your creatives and put it up on Facebook, this is the kind of results that you will get. You will not get this. This is a missed opportunity. The third point I want to make is really be real and be authentic, be relevant is the point I'm trying to make. A lot of people release a lot of content pieces that the world doesn't relate to, right? I'm going to show you one very, very recent example that happened in the last 3 days, right? How many of you have watched the movie Avengers Endgame? Anybody here? Okay, that's still a very small proportion. You should catch up on that movie. It's one of the finest movies the world has seen. But this movie got released last Friday, okay? Now what Colors did, Colors is one of the TV platforms, they have a show called Nagin. Now for people who are Avengers fans, people are crazy about Avengers, right? I don't know if you read today morning, I was in the flight and I was flying by, and I believe one of them cried so much after the movie that he or she had to be rushed into an emergency ward because, you know, had an issue with the heart. I'm just saying people who are crazy about Avengers are crazy. Now what did Nagin do, Colors did, is they had a lot of characters in that show called Nagin. They replaced all their faces with the Avengers faces. Now imagine what the fans of Avengers would do. They would go crazy if something like this. Nagin, Avengers, faces. Colors must have thought it is great. I have got a show and they must have given a brief to their agency saying, hey, give me something topical. Avengers is releasing, let's write content on Avengers. People think you write on something which is a trend, but you have to be relevant. Look at the kind of results it has got. Look at the these are the kind of responses that post got on Twitter. This person saying, giving the brain saying, here, you drop this. There are millions of responses. I've just picked a few to show you some. Here's somebody saying, how to slap someone through the internet. Look at the responses. This person is washing her eyes. She can't get over it that they did something like this. Somebody is putting Harpic to clean up their eyes. Couldn't believe it. Here's somebody who's hung himself. I'm just saying, you have to be real. You do work, but be real, be authentic, do the right thing for your brand. Just don't ride on things because something felt right for you really. And that's the third thing that I wanted to leave as a recommendation. The fourth thing I want to talk about is really everybody in the digital space talks about something or the other every day. Any subject, there is somebody or other talking about it. Please listen, because if you don't listen, they could be talking about your brand and you may not even know they're talking about it. Right? So listen so that you can manage conversations around your brand extremely well. Here's an example that I'm going to show you of how this brand called Lay's manages it. You know, here's a brand and this is a conversation that happened. Here's a fan of Lay's, okay? He is terribly angry that he couldn't find this particular Lay's orange color pack in the market, right? He's scolding Lay's team. He loves it, but he's scolding. I mean, if you have the patience to read it. And he says, you know what? I'm just tired of you guys that I can't find it. Why don't you at least send me some nudes? You know, this is his way of talking on the internet, saying, just send me some nudes, man. At least send me some nudes. So what did Lay's do? They actually sent some nudes back. And the guy loved, he was angry. He loved the sense of humor and he started laughing, saying, oh my God, you guys are cool. The point I'm trying to make is everybody is talking about your brand. You like it or not, they're talking about your brand. Listen to these conversations. There are ways to listen to these conversations today, and it is in today's world the responsibility of the brand to respond to these conversations. It is expected. In the past, if I had a problem with a brand, I would call, then I wrote a letter, and then I would email. Today, I talk about you in the digital space. I have a bad experience, I will talk about you. I have a good experience, I will talk about you. As a brand, it is your duty to listen and to respond. So this is the fourth thing I'm saying. If you're a marketeer, the first thing I said really is that, you know, set the right digital objectives. The second I said is invest in digital, it's not free. The third thing I'm saying really is, what did I say? Sorry. Yeah, listen and, you know, and manage these conversations. The fourth thing, so here are some more examples, but I'm going to, the last one really is I'm saying that after doing all that, make sure, the first was I said, you know, set digital objectives. The second I said is invest in it. The third I said is be real with your content, be authentic with your content. The fourth I said really is listen so that you know who's talking about you so you can respond to them and manage the conversations. And the final thing I'm saying is if you're the right thing to do is you've set the right objectives, measure it. If you don't measure it, you will not know whether what you're doing in digital is working for you or not working for you. There are many, many ways of measuring today, right? And please measure it. For example, if the objective was to do something which was great to do with imagery and brand, then please measure it for that. Don't measure it for sales. Measure against those objectives so you know whether your piece of content and the objectives that you said are working for the brand or not. This is really what I wanted to share. I wanted to end this presentation really by showing you two pieces of content for the digital space that was done recently, both extremely nice. When I said be relevant, I showed you a bad example, but I'm going to show you two examples of being real, being authentic, and doing the right thing for the brand that you represent really. Both are fabulous examples. Do take a look at examples of good content that as marketeers that you need to drive. The first one is really to do with the elections. I know that
quick ones.
2 points?
Quick.
Oh, quick, yes. So we've all been through the elections just now. I know the elections is over, but this was done for elections, and do take a look at it really. Can you play it, please?
बड़े दिनों बाद घर आ रहा है, जाने किस बहाने। इतना लंबा सफर तय करके एक दिन की छुट्टी मनाने। घर लौटा है आज, जाने किस बहाने। न दिवाली, न ईद, न क्रिसमस, बस एक दिन की छुट्टी मनाने। फुर्सत कहाँ है खाने को, खुशबू से ही पेट भर लिया। यारों से अपने गले मिलके ही मन भर लिया। घर आते ही जाने की हड़बड़ी, क्योंकि इस छुट्टी का मकसद कुछ और है, मंजिल कुछ और है।
अरे तुम कब आए?
आज सुबह ही आए सर मैं।
जाने से पहले घर जरूर आना।
सो सॉरी सर, एक्चुअली आज शाम की फ्लाइट है मेरी।
शाम की फ्लाइट?
जी सर।
कोई बात नहीं, नेक्स्ट टाइम।
दूसरे शहर से सिर्फ आज के लिए आए हो?
जी सर।
शाबाश।
किस बात की सर? आप रोज अपनी ड्यूटी करते हो, आज मैं अपनी ड्यूटी करने आया हूँ।
आखिर घर आया है एक ही बहाने। एक दिन की छुट्टी लेकर अपना फर्ज निभाने।
Many of us are registered to vote in a different city. This time, let's take एक दिन की छुट्टी and travel to vote.
Here's a lovely example. I'm going to show you one more example. I'm hoping that most of you have seen it, and this is specifically something that Samsonite did for Kerala just after the floods that was really bad that hit the state. Can we play the next slide, please?
बड़े दिनों
Next
बाद
one.
घर आ रहा है।
Yeah.
One Mr. Nambiar from Alibi has glanced at his door for the 23rd time today. Jansi has repeated her week-long routine of waiting at the airport and then going back home. The veteran Mr. Nair can't seem to reach for the colors he longs for. And Fatima's legendary curry mean fry is missing its secret ingredient. Because every great dish needs a foodie. Just like an artist needs an audience. Like a driver needs a destination. And after all these difficult weeks, what Kerala really needs is you. Come, let's revive Kerala tourism. Kerala is open.
I'm sure a lot of you may have seen this already. Can I just know if anybody had seen this earlier? Yeah, a lot of you. Okay, great. So I just wanted to show you two pieces of lovely content before I ended this whole chat this afternoon on digital and marketing disruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I think we have only 4 minutes. We'll go for 2 quick questions. So any takers? I think you'll have lot of interesting facts and figures. We have heard about all these things. So no doubts. Yep.
Hello. Yeah, thank you very much for the informative session you had. I have a question regarding the platform business model, wherein we are seeing that a seller is directly connecting to the buyer, buyer is directly connecting to the seller. Or if we see the Uber model, a rider is directly connecting to the driver, or driver knows where the demand is. So in such kind of business model, what would be our marketing strategy?
Are you asking this question as a marketer?
I'm from the technical background. We are enabling the platform business model for our customers. So I want to see how the marketing cost will come into picture, or if someone has to really improve the visibility. Let us say if a seller is willing to improve the visibility in the platform business model, then how he can go about doing that.
Yeah. So, you know, while these marketplaces exist, anything, Amazon, you know, you can take a Flipkart, you can take any of the marketplaces that exist. Finally, a consumer who comes there directly, yes, the vendor is able to place his products directly on this marketplace, but a consumer who comes there to make a choice of the product is going to choose that based on certain consideration sets in his or her mind, right? Now, if I'm looking for, let's say, a specific product, and I have 10 brands there. Now, the brand that I choose from those 10 as a consumer is a choice that I make based on multiple things on that brand, right? Therefore, the role of the marketeer to build that demand continues to exist. You cannot get away from that whole thing. You have to, because if you want to be top of mind on your consumer's mind, to be able to, attract your product towards the consumer, you have to continue to spend on generating the right demand with your end consumer. So you're able to pull the right consumer towards you. It is a must. Specifically on marketplaces, if you look at it, and let's go into an Amazon.com, you will see a lot of ads that are popping up even on the Amazon.com. Now, these are all inventories that Amazon is selling to the brands. Even there it works. For example, if I see a specific banner, I may have forgotten to buy a specific product, but seeing that makes me remind me that I also need to buy a product like that. So there are tons of options to create this demand, whether you create it on Facebook and attract somebody to come into your Amazon to buy it, or I do it right there on Amazon. But the job of the marketer remains. You have to build demand, because otherwise you can be left out of the race. Did I answer your question?
Yep, that's correct. Thank you very much.
So one more quick question from that side. Sir?
Can we have the microphone brought, please?
So by that time, I think, a quick summing up, like we have heard about the ABCD of marketing mix, and we have heard about digital is the new thing. Yeah, please.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Elduz Isaac. I'm running a small firm on investment advisory business. So thank you for that session, so that it reinforces the importance of digital marketing for beginners or startups. So my question is actually on the ABCD of marketing. You mentioned about you can really do personalization in the mass digital marketing. How is it possible? What are the tools for personalization in digital marketing, and something on the digital leads, if you can just say something on that. Thank you.
So from the digital space, one of the fundamentals, I would like to link that with the cross, channel management. So what is happening is the earlier situations when we were looking at a situation wherein you have a single platform. Today, cross-channel engagement, by just giving only on the digital space, maybe only on, let's say you give such that, it comes only in Google today. It doesn't make, it's only a customer who knows about your product is coming to aware about that. On the other side, your presence in across the digital space, wherein you are available in, let's say, the other options like target audience. You have a group of audience you have, and where you could reach the customer, your existing customer, you could understand the behavior of them. You could reach out to larger group. In fact, there are even techniques therein, if I assume that you have a competitor who has a lot of leads coming up, you could even reach out to those customers in a larger extent, so that there are various options available today. So my suggestion, if you are starting with an SME, as a business person, my view is we need to have a digital, I would say digital consultant whom we engage on it. But more importantly, we engage with them all possibilities by adapting to that changes. Okay.
And you need to give them a free hand for a good amount of budget also.
That's right.
So thank you so much. Thank you for your very inspiring and motivating, as well as very valuable points. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I request the chair to present a memento to Ms. Anusha Shetty. A very meticulously presented speech. With staggering statistics, she managed to bust several myths, and those 5 clearly spelled out recommendations were equally interesting. Thank you very much, ma'am. And we would like to request Mr. Vinod Chandran also to accept the memento, the ABCDE of marketing. Very meticulously researched presentation. Thank you very much, sir. It was an absorbing session. And now we would like to thank our chairman. I request Mr. Sumesh K. Menon, President of Palghat Management Association, to please do the honors. Thank you very much. The chairperson, Mr. Jibu Paul, for asking the right questions and directing the entire session. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, the gentleman. Thank you, the lady here on stage. So that takes us to the final plenary session for the day. Before we proceed to the session, this is a quick reminder of the lucky draw. There's a bowl that is still there. If you've not dropped your names yet, kindly do so. The condition that was mentioned earlier, I would like to repeat it. We will be picking 3 lucky winners, and when the name is called out, we'd be happy if we could find the person right here. If not, we will pass on the luck to the next person, whoever is present here. So that having said, we will proceed to plenary session 4 for the day. And this would emphasize on, please continue to be seated. We will continue with the 4th session. And this is on augmented workforce, HR in the age of automation. Companies are battling disruption. The whole day we've been discussing on how innovation and disruption have become the pertinent questions to answer. Companies who are battling disruption, they need urgently a workforce that can help them stay ahead of the technological disruption. So even as they adopt new technologies and automate, they need employees who can work with big data, learning machines and smart algorithms. This is the context for the next plenary session, and I'd like to invite our panelists for the same. Mr. P. Dwaraknath, Chairman, GSK Consumer Healthcare Limited. Mr. Abhay Kapoor, Head HR, Northern Region, Amazon. We are indeed privileged to be hosting you here. Please join us, sir. I request Ms. Rajeshri R., the HR Head of Tata Consultancy Service, who is chairing the session, to accompany the panelists. Ms. Rajeshri is the HR Head of TCS Kochi. In her 16 years of work experience, she's gained an in-depth knowledge across the spectrum of HR functions. Her areas of interest include talent management, employee engagement, talent retention, and talent development. She is the winner of KMA Young Managers Award and Managers of Tomorrow Award from Madras Management Association, a certified Korn Ferry Leadership Potential Assessor, an executive committee member of Cochin NHRD chapter, who is here to chair the session. A hearty welcome to you, ma'am, and over to you.
Firstly, a very good evening to all of you. At the outset, let me thank AIMA, our KMA President, Mr. Dinesh Thampi, and the Regional Conclave Chair, Mr. C.S. Karta, for having given me the opportunity to chair this session here today. All through the day, we have heard multiple deliberations on the impact of Industry 4.0. And taking a cue from Mr. Gopalakrishnan's session, whether it is an understanding of disruption as a journey from known knowns to the unknown unknowns, or the appreciation of innovation as an intuitive understanding of a child's need by a mother, people are at the heart of it. There's no doubt that any innovation, any disruption requires a strong people element. It is therefore apt that today, as we conclude the session, conclude the conclave, this is the last session, because once we have understood what is the impact of Industrial 4.0, it also helps us now to deliberate more on the people aspects of this. One of the recent news items which was quite popular on the internet was that of the Volvo recruiting car. I'm sure many of you have seen it, right? So this car uses artificial intelligence to interview candidates based on their facial expressions and word use. And such instances of use of technology in various processes of HR is set to proliferate. So you will hear increasing usage of, let's say, artificial intelligence in the sourcing process. Let's say virtual reality in onboarding process, right? For instance, today, companies like TCS, which recruits huge numbers, we spend a lot of time on induction process. So imagine if we have an augmented reality-based app or a system wherein prospective candidates can get a virtual tour of the office before they come in itself, and they are thereby familiar with the place before they come in, right? Predictive analytics will help us assess candidates available in the talent pool in a more scientific manner, and so on and so forth. Now, while we try and embrace technology, we also need to understand that as we go on, the definition of diversity will move from gender, generation, and also look at the presence of man versus machine, right? And this calls for HR to invest more in equipping people with collaborative skills and help them not be confined to the silos of their workspaces, right? So the topic today requires deliberations from two perspectives. One is the use of technology in HR itself, and the second is the impact of the use of technology on people, which are the primary customers of HR. To present their views, we have two prolific speakers here today. One represents an organization which has years of research and innovation to their credit. And the second speaker is from an organization which has disruption in their very DNA. So as I set the context, let me now move on to introduce the speakers for the day. Our first speaker is Mr. Dwaraka Nath. He is the chairman of GSK Consumer Healthcare Limited and head of Group Human Capital of Max India. Starting off his journey as a management trainee with the Shriram Group, currently Mr. Dwaraka Nath, with more than 4 decades of rich and varied experience, is the chairman of GSK Consumer Healthcare Limited and also serves as head Group Human Capital of Max India. Prior to this, he was the Director, Human Resources and Administration, India, South Asia of GlaxoSmithKline, and has been associated with GSK for close to 3 decades. He is on the board of several companies, institutions, including IIM Kashipur. Mr. Dwaraka Nath has held several management positions in various professional bodies. He was the president of NHRD Network, president of Delhi Management Association, regional president, Northern Region of All India Management Association, and also treasurer of All India Management Association. He has won several prestigious awards for his valuable contributions in the field of human resources, including the Pathfinders Award and Lifetime Achievement Award by the NHRD Network, the Career Achievement Award by GSK International, and Chairman's Awards by Max India. Sir, we welcome you to the session here today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, especially good afternoon to the young friends there. Firstly, I would like to thank Kerala Management Association for having invited me. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here, as well as the AIMA, with which I'm associated and being a council member at various capacities for more than 25 years. So I came to Delhi only to address this for 15-20 minutes, but that is the passion which is coming out. So I thought I'll share a few thoughts. I know because of the time constraints, we need to close it. So I don't want to keep hanging you, and my colleague is also here, my friend Abhay, and thank you, Rajashree, for your great introduction. See, the competitive advantage, why we are here, why we are talking about HR. Firstly, I need to compliment whoever has designed the program, giving focus on HR. As she said rightly, don't think HR is the last item in the agenda, but I think it's an important item. This is where you stitch the things. I just want to say, some of you have said in the plenary session, sir, you talked about Kodak. I want to know the students, they understand what has been said. Have you heard this phrase, which is very relevant in this context, what we're going to talk? He said, what Sony did to Kodak, Apple did to Sony. Please later reflect on it, especially for management. This is very important here. When we talk about disruption, innovation, a lot has been said. I've been here, had the benefit of seeing different presentations. I don't want to dwell on it. Please do understand, no doubt this particular topic is HR in the age of automation. I would have liked the subject HR in the age of disruption. You see, automation is one aspect of disruption. There could be many other aspects which can also impact on human resources. The classic case is Kodak. What happened to Kodak? They had all the technology. It's a lack of leadership, lack of drive. What happened? What did Sony do? Sony went into digital cameras. Kodak has finished. What did Apple did? Apple is an IT company. Sony is an entertainment company. So, gentlemen, there are no boundaries in the global competition today. You may be a film company, camera, you may lose out to a entertainment company, and somebody like Apple, which is an IT company, has killed you with iPod. So I think, this is today, it is not competitor intelligence, just doing digital marketing or anything else. It's a competitive intelligence which can impact on the people. Just imagine what happened to Kodak company and its employees. Similarly, if you talk about Remington Rand and Godrej, which ruled the rose for 3 decades, typewriters, we don't find any typewriter, and some of the youngsters wouldn't have seen the typewriter. So I think while the technology plays an important role, disruption can happen from many angles, which can impact your human workforce. For example, as some business can thrive, take the example, this is what GSK taught us, pressed. It could be political reasons, it could be regulatory reasons, it could be economic reasons, it could be social reasons, but not the least, it could be technological reasons. I think we are focusing here on technology, but it's important. Who was benefited mostly by demonetization? Tell me one industry. There are 2, patent. You see, look, nobody expected, they zoomed up. Then, if I say, because since I belong to GSK, I'm a lifer of GSK, having been associated with them for 40 years, I moved up from a plant HR to the chairman of the company, which I feel very humbled and honored. I think the most important thing is, ultimately, the competitive advantage today is the people. Business growth is to people's growth. I think you need technology, you need infrastructure, you need marketing, you need tech, but what does it mean to conclude? You need to be high tech, but with high touch. I think one of the things when you're doing this, we need to be careful is, lot has been said. I have got a presentation, but I condensed it, but the slides are not more important, but I just could go through you and then express my views in insights in 10. You see, as a HR guys, or as a leaders, when I said HR, please don't think only those who have got the titles of HR. You can have anything who deals with people. So I think it's important that you need to understand the apps, how much time you are spending. 46% of jobs, this is reconfirmed by many surveys, many organizations, many search firms. 46% of jobs will change. I'm not giving a threat. Please treat it as an opportunity. I think, treat it as an opportunity for upskilling, for retraining, for reorientation. This is where HR and those leaders who are related to people have to work hard, understand. Peter Drucker has said, excellent, best way to predict future is to create it. Best way to predict future is to create it. I think, that is what, don't follow one size fits all. I think a lot of people have said customization, it's important. Even within your workforce, you have in India different kinds of workforce. Depending on the sectors, depending on if you take TCS, there may be young force. If you have a brick and mortar company, you have a traditional force. You can't apply one principle even in the same company, different organizations, different setups. I have succeeded here, I will succeed here. So please do understand, change is constant, change is dynamic. But I think, if you don't understand the mindset, this is where I said, more than the technology, apps and all that, these are statistics, some of them information. You need to be aware, but don't get scared. But I think one thing important is what fits you well. Some medicines may suit somebody, some may have reactions, right? I think you need to test whether it applies to you or not. So this is what, in terms of it, 40% will have a non-traditional employment. I think all the HR guys or managers need to understand there may not be traditional jobs the way we are saying you join at 24, retire at 58 or 60, those things go. Employees may not be interested to do those sort of jobs. I think this is one trend which will change. And said, you see, if you see blue lines, those who are very digitally evolved, they will satisfied. Those who are not digitally evolved, they will not be satisfied. But you need to understand this is where HR has to play a role. How do you introduce automation? Unless you give a compelling reasons, because I come from the era in 1971, I joined as a management trainee of DCM. Can you believe, youngsters, we didn't have STDs. Forget about mobiles, we didn't have STD. When I was in a plant, if they had a problem, I used to rush to this town to make a lightning call. That was the thing. So you have to change with the time. I can't sit on this and say, this is the way I worked, I succeeded. You have to work. You have to change with the time. You need to understand the implications of the technology. If you don't adapt yourself to the change, you will lose out. I think, a leader is one who cope up with change. Adaptability is important. While bringing the change, please remember, you need to be change master. To large extent, you have to predict the consequences of the change. Don't do the change for the sake of changing. For example, who is responsible for the collapse of the Berlin Wall? Anybody? One leader who contributed for the good of the whole Eastern Bloc is Gorbachev. But what happened to USSR? It collapsed. So when you bring a change, don't bring it in haste. Even if it's taking, speed is important, but you need to see what are the consequences. If you don't understand the consequence management, you will perish along with this. So I think sustenance after the introduction of change is very important. If you don't keep scoring, you are just practicing. So it's important, you need to have measurements, why you are bringing this change, how it will be beneficial to the organization as well as to the employees, what are their concerns. I think here when I talk about change management, I just want to give a very small anecdote which I shared. What you think is a small change can be a big change to your employees. Please do understand. Sometimes even if change job titles, people get upset. You think, why is silly? It is not that. There are hot spots and soft spots with each employees. So this is where the customization, understanding the pulse of the people are important. So what I'm saying is, in order to bring, you need to understand what's happening in the digital world, how it's going to impact your business, and how you evolve in the markets. At the same time, you need to understand your own people, have the pulse of it, and try to see how you can bring it. You have to bring a rapid change, or you have to bring a gradual change, or you can bring for some people easily. You see, I work with 3 generations, or 4 generations. Now I'm working with all who are younger to me. Look, my son is also a HR director. If you talk to him, he will talk about only digitalization. Dad, you can't understand. My grandson is also coming into play. So if I'm dealing with these sort of generations, you need to understand and manage their expectations, because you want to be a little bit conservative, somebody wants to drive it, so you want to adopt and move forward. So if you see, one is understanding technology, infrastructure, marketing, investments, return on investments. The other thing is how to make it happen, because in my generation, when IBM, that big monster missions were introduced in 78, in Calcutta, I was working at that time, DCM, all the multinational bank staff refused to do it because they felt their jobs they will lose their jobs, which didn't happen. They refused to work on missions for 4-5 years. So always there is a threat in India in terms of economic loss. So you need to be conscious when you're bringing anything which may end up in redundancy, but there are various ways to address them to make it happen. The other bit is how to go about it. You see, I'm just trying to sum it up what I said. There are holdouts resisting to shift to digital, ignoring the impact, disengage, understand digital, but avoiding engagement. Immigrants cross the chasm into digital world, forced into engagement with the digital channel, but they're not extremely happy. Warriors recognize the shift to digital, but not ready to be active yet themselves. They wanted somebody to push, and natives who can just pick it up. So I think, these are the type of people you are in who need to manage. This is where you are understanding of the situation and people. So what does it mean? Paper resumes, digital CV, multiple interviews, digital assessment, HR portals, mobile apps. This is what we are evolving. Physical punch to go fencing, Excel linking, right time data, emails to real-time message, manual screening to digital marking, helped us to smart doubts, monthly pay, hourly pay, HR business partner, experience, this one. So I think this is the evolution which you need to understand. You need to take a decision based on what is good for you, but not what is nice to do it. Nice to do it may not be need to do it, or it may not fetch you this sustenance and growth, what you are expecting. So, I mean, if we say for a recruitment matching, I'm just giving you very quickly because of paucity of time for multiple channels. And incidentally, have you heard about Naukari.com? This guy worked with us as a management trainee in GSK. He is from AIMA Ahmedabad, outstanding marketer. He said he left the job. He was my friend or mentee, what you call. Sir, I want to talk my own. I said, what you do? This is what I want to do. He was silly. We all said, you are losing a multinational job in marketing and FMCG, which is most prestigious. Sir, I want to say. So what is important? Ability to take risks, ability to explore outside the traditional world is also important. You see where Naukari.com, similar type profile is Make My Trip. He is also similar kind. They did not look for job careers, they look for entrepreneurship. So things are changing. I think we need to understand. When in 91, 92, if you're going for campuses, it's FMCG or banking, which were the top players, IT companies were coming on the fifth day. By end of the day, Infosys and Wipro were ruling the roast, FMCG comes behind it. So it's a change of times, going with the trends and tides. You have to be a little bit ahead of the game if you want to succeed. And sometimes if you're a quick mover, you may also lose. So this is a judgment call we talk. Somebody said about Wipro, sometimes these automation or disruptions happens sheer due to change and necessity. Example, somebody talked about Wipro. I go one step further. For me, classic case for youngsters you should know is ITC. What is ITC, Indian Tobacco Company? Why did they move from tobacco itself? They thought one day there will be regulatory restrictions, they may not be able to survive. Where is ITC today? They are competing with levers, P&G and GSKs in FMCG, leaving aside hotels, leaving aside printing, I mean, what not. So that is what is leadership. So in order to bring this change with the influence the people, it is the culture, it is the leadership, the DNA of the organization, which makes important. Why when some leaders are driving it, the organization succeeds, people are motivated and engaged. Some of them do it, same business, same issues, they are not able to succeed because the leadership from the top matters a lot. Because I have a very famous phrase to say this, my own coining, ability to understand in this matter from Mali to Malik, from the gateman or a gardener to the chairman of the company. You should understand the pulse of the people. Then only you can implement it effectively and successfully sustain it and grow. So very quickly, this is some of the, so it starts from you, culture, support, digital and promote support and digital age. So I'll just take few more minutes to express some of my views. How do you handle it? Okay, you said it, this is what. I have got, firstly, role of HR is changing. It's making workforce for future ready. I think, create a culture that supports digital and everybody is not in the same length. As I said, you need to be supportive them to make it happen. Developing a collaboration between human and digital. Two more points which my friend was also saying. How do you manage robots tomorrow? HR has to manage robots. It's not an artificial, right? But how do you manage? And Mr. Gopal Krishna was telling while going, Dwarka, you need to understand one aspect. How do you manage your board members, governors? Talking about workforce, employees, manager is one thing. Are they willing to change? Why you are investing so much on technology? How is it helpful? People come from different backgrounds. Not that they're lack of the knowledge, but they may be traditional. They may not want to take risk. Their investment is lot. Technology keeps changing. So I deal out with some of the max hospitals, technology changing everything. How do you cope up with this? So these are some of the challenges we get. It's a dynamic workforce, managing diverse and dispersed workforce. That said multi-generation. Some want it, some do not want. So how do you make high tech and high touch? Deloitte has said 56 companies surveyed or 56% redesigning their HR programs. 33% HR teams are using artificial intelligence. So focus, so what is the sum up, what I said, focus on learn, unlearn and relearn. Everybody. What you learned yesterday may not be, I learned management about 48 years and so if you want to succeed, you need to be relevant to the current, regardless of your age. Secondly, focus on upskilling employees. Workforce on demand. What is workforce demand? Concept has been introduced some companies like mobile app-based, HRMS platforms, leveraging gamification and social collaboration. So the last but least is use HR digital to provide employee experiences that mirrors customers' experience. I think this is very important, especially service industry. Unless an employee also experience it, he may not embrace it. Customer wanted it, but employee has to drive it. So leveraging technology touch points and leveraging social listening tools to gauge employee sentiments and mood. I think, this digital employee issue, what I call SMAC, social, mobile, analytics, and cloud tool. The last, while concluding, what I'm seeking is, there are, as I said, if you don't keep scoring, HR will not succeed. You have to have a measurements, you have to have a time frame, you need to work on it. And the second thing is when I said, take away my factories, take away my warehouses, take away my financial leverage, but leave my people, I will build another great company. This is Alfred Sloan said, Henry Ford said, it's important in the given context when you are in a competitive global advantage, which you have a rich dividend of employees with young and energetic workforce, and India economic power is becoming one of the top 5 in the world. It's important you need to make the transition, but change is always a challenge. Change is resisted. Even minor change, be it job title, be it relocation of the office, can be sometimes seen as adverse. Sometimes there is a suspicion with the employees why you are doing it. Is it a job of loss? So to conclude, there is a behavioral thing, what we call, even if you do a merger and acquisition, which I'm involved in many, and one of them we're going through, there is an element called SARA. The employee gets shock and surprise. A, annoyance and anger, or rejection. This is where then the compelling is, how do you make him accept A, S-A-R-A-H. A, acceptance, H, help. So these are the changes one goes through it when you're bringing any change. What is a minor change for you? It could be a major change. So basically from products to service, this is what it is. So to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, there are 4 kinds of leaders. People who watch things happening, people who do not know what is happening, people to whom things happen. But distinguished minority are those who makes things happen. I wish you are one of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think you truly touched upon the essence of HR. In times of change, when HR is driving change in organizations, very often we overlook the fact that the needs of employees at different stages are different, and change for the sake of change should not be pursued. There has to be some clear objectives in terms of why we are looking at these changes and sustenance of that change. Again, throughout the morning session as well, Gopalakrishnan sir and Debashish sir had talked about this. Disruptive times call for strong leadership. And I think HR has a very strong role to play here. In your short session, you not only touched about how HR as a function is disrupting itself, but also how HR as a function has evolved over these years. So thank you for those insights, and we'll come back for further deliberations. We now move on to the second speaker for the day. Mr. Abhay Kapoor. He is the Senior HR Leader, India Operations North for Amazon. With more than 26 years of experience in human resource management and employee relations, Mr. Abhay Kapoor is currently the Senior HR Leader, India Operations North for Amazon. Earlier, he has worked in leadership positions with large Indian and multinational companies like Escorts, Ranbaxy, LG, Andritz, Murugappa, Aptara Corporation in diverse industry sectors of automobiles, pharmaceuticals, consumer durables, engineering, and ITES. He has led change management initiatives, successfully institutionalized strategies for building competency-based organization capabilities, has been instrumental in bringing transformational changes and led projects on HR capability building, competency framework, employee engagement models, and outsourcing. He holds a master's degree in HR and IR, a degree in law, has completed advanced course in human resource management and employee relations from HIDA, Ministry of Labor, Japan. He's a Six Sigma Green Belt certified change agent, ILO ITC certified trainer on occupational safety and health, certified trainer on performance coaching, counseling, and mentoring. He has been actively associated with various professional bodies like CII, FICCI, AIMA, NHRD, and significantly contributed through various committees on HR and IR. I welcome you, Abhay, and over to you for the session.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And here I am as the last speaker of the day. Please bear with me for a few more minutes. Although when I talk about the topic, innovation in the age of disruption, the enough has been spoken since morning and left with very few things. First, as Mr. Dwarka rightly said, that must congratulate AIMA for doing this wonderful workshop and calling us and giving out this opportunity to me on this topic, which is very relevant today. But if we talk about innovation, innovation has always been the backbone of anything what we do to grow in our life or business. And whether it is management, we have been taught always innovation is the key to success. And today when there's more than a decade, we all were deliberating that we are heading towards, we are in a VUCA world, things are very volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, okay, and now what we see is that everything, if you need to manage is what? Disruption. And given the topic like in HR, definitely, HR is all about building culture in the organization, and culture is always of the prime importance. And how we transform culture from one culture to another. Now today, as Mr. Dwarka rightly said, that 4 generations are working together in many organizations. Before Amazon, I was part of very 2 traditional organizations, Escorts and Ranbaxy, and I've seen a lot of conflicts which maximum time the HR people have been spending on that how to bring the balance between different generations. The generation, those who set up these organizations, those who build these organizations, and the generation, those who will set the future for these organizations. Today, our, if we talk about workforce, more than 50% workforce is millennials. So yeah, I was talking about culture. So more than 2/3 companies, they believe that company culture has a very critical importance impact on their organizational ability to grow, sustain, or on their vision and mission. And today the culture which every organization is talking about or transforming towards, or where the leaders want to transform their culture, is to the digitally enabled culture. So what is driving this digitally enabled culture? Is it only organization, or is it only disruption? From where we are getting all this disruption? Today, why things are the way they look like? There are many aspects to it. It's changing people dynamics, changing the generational gaps, the changing demand of the customers, which is ultimately resulting for HR challenge in terms of the changing demands of the employees in the organization. As I said, that we have more than 50% employees, those who are millennials in most of the organizations. How do we manage these employees? How do we set the balance between millennials and baby boomers? Still we have people working in many organizations in the age of 70s, 80s. They continue to be the pillars of the organization, and wherein the growth will be enabled by the young generation. Today, 1/3 of the millennials, they feel that their organizations are not making enough efforts, or they are not getting the skills of the tomorrow. Wherein 66% people feel that they may not leave, not even 5 years is too long. They may leave the organization in 3 years, less than 3 years' time. So with this kind of dynamics, how do we sustain the growth in the organization? So the work is more network, like it will be more mobile. It has to be more project-based. They want more collaborative approach. We have to create more digital technology-enabled business environment, and wherein companies should be more focusing on nurturing and developing the people in terms of creating more meaning and purposeful work. Today, lot of millennials or the young generation, they don't want full-time job. They are more interested in job which can give them more challenging assignment in terms of projects. They always want to not do the routine tasks, but they always want to get engaged in some job which is more challenging, which is putting in some new initiatives in the organization. How to create that environment in the organization? How to build that environment in the terms of career flexibility? They want to move on from one job to other job very quickly in the role-based environment, and more with the jobs which are generating more ideas. We all know that how the employment models are changing in today's world. We all call it as a gig economy. In gig economy, it's not about the longevity of the job or role. It is about how challenging the job is and how we are able to build the balance between the job and organizational requirement. We all know the example of Ola and Uber. These are perfect examples of gig economy. The drivers decide that what time they want to operate, what time they don't want to operate. So similarly, in many service sector organizations, it's about the flexibility of the job, which should be managed through the lot of digital advancements, like a mobile app which helps employees to provide the flexible employment as per their requirement. Now I have a pool of talent which is registered as an employee to work in my organization. I'm not giving them 365 days or 9 to 6 job. I have slots available wherein these are the slots which are available for the employees. They can choose the slots and come and work. So these are the days which we are going to see very soon because of the various business realities and the use of digital in the people management. So augmented workforce is a very perfect balance of human resources and technology. How you can use technology, like I remember that when I started my career about 26 years back, or even in last 1 decade or so, there's an employee engagement survey which we do, maybe once in 2 years or every year, or we see that how we engage our employees and all that. Today, with the help of digital transformation, we work on real-time engagement. We have all the engagement questions which are being thrown to the employees throughout the year are available in a tool, and we can do any kind of analysis that how this employee is engaged, how this employee is working with his manager, how is this employee is working with the team, what are the need of this employee, what are the need of his manager, and all that things. So that is how the digitalization has transformed the way we work and manage people in the organization. So is it only the technology which we are driving to manage people? No, it is the need of the hour. As the environment is becoming more enabled and digitally advanced, we need to adopt to all those digital advancements in managing people also. Like we are talking about driverless cars now, we are talking about, it is already there in the form of chatbots. You don't know that whether whenever you are interacting with anybody as a part of your customer support system, you really don't know that you are interacting with a human being or you are interacting with a device, Alexas and Siri and all. There's all our AI-enabled tool which helps us. The same tools we are using in HR in managing multiple queries. Like one thing which we talk about, like payroll management. Now, once we process the payroll, there may be few defects. And employees may have come with queries and all. So we enabled the AI-based tool wherein all the queries can be given the solutions by the these kind of devices. And then we have seen like the digital transformation in terms of the way we spend. Thanks to demonetization, but the whole world, the way we are spending our money is become totally cashless. So now we are moving very fast from mobile-based applications to AI-based tools. We are moving from individuals to the voice-based, voice-enabled services. We are moving towards Industry 4. We are catching up very fast in terms of to meet the requirement of Industry 4, wherein we are now advancing from using of electronics and internet to really using the AI technologies and machine learning in managing different people aspects. And that is helping us in improved decision making. Today our decision making is more accurate and which helps us in managing people much better. So maybe in the paucity of time, I'll run through some slides. So the challenge which we are facing, what is the challenge we are facing? The technological advancement is so fast, but the time which we are taking to bring it, enable these technologies in our processes is not catching up. We all know that companies are disrupted at much faster pace. 12% of the Fortune 500 companies have vanished Only 12% of the Fortune 500 companies are there in the list. Even last 1 year, 26% companies become out of the list. So that is the rate of disruption. Do our I think some technical glitch. Bear with me. My slides are running different. Can you help? Just one slide before, yeah. So there are 4 parameters to it: technology, individuals, business, and public policy. So wherein we feel that lot of public policies, especially in terms of HR, today we talk about different legislations which are applicable in managing people, are decades old legislations, and how fast we can convert those regulatory frameworks to meet with our advancements in the digital technology. That is becoming a challenge. Most of the businesses, due to various reasons, are not able to catch up with the technological advancements, with the digital transformations. And then second, the third thing is the individuals. Do we have workforce available in terms of digitally equipped workforce which can faster the meet requirement of organizations in terms of meeting the digitally advanced workforce? So these are the challenges which we are facing in terms of converting the organizations into the digital transformation phase in a much faster mode. And do we have such ecosystem wherein augmented workforce can be employed by small projects or small organizations? Small organizations also accounts for a huge percentage of the overall business environment. And are we able to really use the social media in the way we can use in terms of enabling people, in terms of driving our HR in the organizations? So these are a couple of challenges which we are facing, and the journey so far has been good, but it needs much more diverse workforce in terms of technological advancements, in terms of making our leaders adaptable to the digital transformation, bringing in the generational gaps in terms of making organizations much more digital enabled, and also to work on the expectations of millennials in terms of converting the organization into the digital environment. These are a couple of challenges which we see in today's business environment, and I think with this these were my thoughts which I wanted to share with all of you, and the practical realities of the world where we are moving towards converting the digital transformation in the age of disruption, and look forward to your queries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abhay. Indeed, culture is very critical to the DNA of an organization, and managing generations that comprise the demographics of today's organizations is not a simple task at all. Each generation comes with its own set of expectations, and considering that the millennials comprise the majority of the demographics in most of the organizations, it requires a depth of understanding of what their needs are and what drives them to work. Like Abhay said, engagement and understanding employees' needs cannot be a scheduled activity anymore. It has to be real time, it has to be on the go. And the age of disruption that we are in today calls for a very strong HR focus and strategy. Since we have time, I'll just take a few minutes to give a glimpse of what we do in TCS also, which incidentally I wanted to do at the beginning of the session, but I missed to. When we started out on this journey of Industry 4.0, we came out with something called the Business 4.0, which was our strategy to enable our customers to ride the wave of the fourth industrial revolution. Now, adopting the same in HR, we have seen a machine-first delivery model coming into play, and we have seen the advent of bots in HR. So we have today 2 bots that take up core areas of HR. One is in the gamut of employee query resolution, where we have Kara, a chatbot which is based on artificial intelligence and machine learning. And today it handles any employee query with 98% accuracy. Similarly, we have another bot called the Milo, which works in the area of mentoring. So today, typically mentoring would require HR to find a mentor for you, schedule a mentoring session, follow up on the outcome of the mentoring, and then look at the development needs of the employee. A large part of this work is overtaken by the bot today, and the best part of Milo is that it helps you connect with experts, not just based on hierarchy. So you don't have to typically have a mentoring session just with your supervisor. You will get to know who are the experts in the organization, and based on your interest, you get to meet and interact with it. So it does not take away the human touch at all, but it enables a lot of these logistics processes to be taken care of. And technological interventions like this actually give bandwidth to HR to focus on the more critical interventions. Because today, as has been the point of discussion for a couple of years, there's still a shortage of soft skills that you see, whether it is in the market or whether it is within your organization itself. And when these routine processes are taken over and moved into automated and moved away from the service bucket of HR, HR can actually use their expertise to deliver value to the business. With that, we'll open up for a few questions from the audience.
Thank you, authorities. I am N. Haas, member AIMA and MC member Trivandrum Management Association. We all know that HRM is the latest nomenclature of personnel management. Among the process, plan, recruit, select, train, develop, remunerate and maintain. Which one is more significant according to you, sir? Question to Dwarkanath. And one more question. What did you do to reduce or manage HR turnover? A question to Abhay Kapoor, sir.
Sir, it's a very interesting question. I have to frankly say I don't know I have complete answer, but let me understand. I think I started, as I said, just to give a context in 71. What I have seen, you see, whether employee relations or personal management, then we move to HRD, now human capital, talent management, and talent acquisition and all that. Only I'm just making a comment, I will answer you. I think in HR we have developed a lot of fancy terms. You know, we are the one guys, and I'm sorry to say I've been in this profession for 48, though I worked other functions. But you know, one thing we said, we always felt that what will happen to our job. If you recall, in 1971 as well as 1999, there was an article in HBR which said whether HR will extinct. Every time we had a doubt, I used to ask many of my youngsters whenever I go to IIMs, nobody was taking HR. I said, what is the problem? He said, everybody sees HR may not exist after 10 years. I have been in this profession for 48 years, nothing has happened, except titles have changed. And secondly, we have this habit of saying, brand it, we are more than marketers. HR become more than marketers. You see, when I started, if I keep on doing the designation, leave aside you are a trainee or a assistant manager or manager, see the suffix part. Is employee relations, labor welfare, industrial relations, personal management, human relations, human capital, talent management. What is the difference between talent acquisition and selection and recruitment? Similarly, orientation to onboarding. I do not find induction orientation to onboarding. Sometimes I couldn't understand somebody onboarding. What is onboarding? So we have this habit. So coming back on this, I think we moved away from there. When you talk about HRM, you may say it, I will put it differently. What you do, one fellow went to the church and he asked the priest, said, I'm a HR guy, please describe your job description in one sentence. What do you do? Tell me in one message, elevator message, we talk in HR. Tell me what you do in one sentence. He said, hatch, match, and dispatch. Okay, please, can you explain, Father, can you explain what do you mean by hatch, match, and dispatch? Son, you are a HR guy, I'm explaining your language. If some young parents come with a small child, I bless the child. That is hatching. When two young women and gentlemen comes for marriage, I solemnize the marriage. When somebody dies, I also do the last rites. So in HR, we do hatch, match, and dispatch. When I said somebody, youngster, in one of the forums in the end, she got up and said, may I like to add one thing? Please tell me. Patch. In between hatch, match, and dispatch, there is a patch. So I think, this is a context to automation or how do you augmentation. You have to change with the times. Fundamentals will not change. What you said is right. But what is key important? 48 years back for me, employee relations, labor laws was very important. Later, personal hiring is important. Later, induction has become important. Even in then managing change, I have gone through, you see, I keep saying, I worked in one company for 40 years. I have not changed my name. I have not changed my profession. Titles have changed. But my company's name has changed 4 times. You see, whether you call Horlicks Limited, you call SmithKline Beecham or GlaxoSmithKline. 4 times the company's name has changed. This is the challenge in the current time for HR. More than the operational processes, predict what can happen. How do you augment? It is not only digitalization, I'm worried about the mergers and acquisition and transformation changes, what both have talked about. This is more important. So, to sum it up, while all are important, is difficult, it depends on the context. For example, if you are in TCS, I don't know, some of the IT companies I keep hearing, hiring is important, retention is important, I am in life insurance. For me, Salesforce retention is important. In healthcare, paramedical force, nurses retention is very important, more than the clinicians. So it can vary. I think we can't one size fits all. But having said, culture, leadership, and people management, this need not be done by HR alone. Our job is to influence other leaders who are part of your management team to have that feeling. Just don't think only about the numbers. Don't only think about the technology. There is a touch of the people. We are not giving you a bhashan as a behavioral scientist, but it's important if the companies have to serve. That is why to conclude that what I said earlier, take away my factories, take away my technology, take away my leverage, financial leverage, but leave my people to alone. But not all people, but right kind of people at the right places in the bus is what HR has to do. That's what Jim Collins said, good to great. He said, select the right kind of people, put them in the right seats in the bus, they will tell you where you need to go. Thank you.
Yeah, so just adding on to it, we just talked like employee experience manager. This is the new terminology which HR is giving. How it is different from grievance handling. So it's the circle which is going around and around, but things will remain the same at the end of the day, whether you call it personal manager or employee experience manager or grievance handling manager or labor welfare officer. The thing is to take care of the business and people, which you can give many fancy words, but things will remain the same. Okay, what was your second question? HR, attrition. HR attrition.
Yeah. What did you do to reduce?
So, so my take on this is that HR in any organization is a function like any other function. When we talk about the employees, okay, I don't see that HR employees, this is my personal experience, feel very different from any other function, whether it's finance or manufacturing or marketing. When it comes to an employee and organization relationship, it remains the same, and I have seen that trends are almost similar in most of the organization as compared to, so it depends upon organization rather than a particular function. That is my take on this. Maybe Dwarka can add.
Can I just add, and I think we should also listen to her perspective, maybe if she's in. Very quickly, it's a very valid question. I keep on asking all my professional colleagues, I said, how can you keep saying, charged, motivated? How can you stay when the HR guys are the frequent movers, one from one company to other? But I also believe I have done a tenure job, but you can't expect in the current context where business environment is changing on day to day, opportunities are plenty, unlike my time, maybe I couldn't get a job or someone else. But the point is they're also looking. But what is important is that the period they work with you, they should be coming. There is nothing like loyalty means only long service, no cradle to grave. Those days have gone. But at the same time, you should not make change for the sake of change. And number two, I think this is where HR, if you keep, HR guy keeps saying, how can you say, please stay with us, employees engagement, you can't drive it. It doesn't mean you have to stay for 30 years or 20 years, but period you have to be a sort of a role model for the period you work, you are committed. The last bit I want to say, especially for young folks, is they get carried away by peer group pressures. But peer groups sometimes out of ego mislead them. I want to give one anecdote and close. I had a great lady who was working from a premier school, worked for 5 years. Suddenly one day she resigned. I said, what is the matter? I went for alma mater. Everybody in my batch out of 40, 37 have changed. And they're saying, unless you change your job, you can't make a career growth. I said, don't do it unless you have some reason. No, she joined. After 2 months, she came back to me and, spent to me, sir, I'm not liking, I want to come back. But the others who are sitting outside, all our batchmates, saying, see, she's doing extremely well. She's very gaga about the current company. But what she conveyed to me inside is very different. So this is one aspect. You have to, the message, the leaders have to give it to HR. You have to make your own career, plan it, but don't get influenced or carried away by others who are there in the outside world. You do not know what they are doing. But that is a peer group pressure is one challenge HR has to manage.
Yeah, I think in the interest of time, we'll take one last question if there is any, and then I would present the concluding remarks and close the session.
I am K.V. Varki, former Managing Director of Hindustan Antibiotics Limited. So far, HR function was restricted to managing permanent employees and contract employees. Now one more dimension has emerged, is going to be emerged, that is robots. So one has to decide, HR manager has to decide which work is to be allocated to the permanent employee, which work has to be allocated to the contract employee, and what all works are to be allocated to the robots. What are the strategies which has to be followed in this matter?
I will make an attempt. I'm not an authority on this, but I touched upon in my presentation, I think 2 aspects. It's not only permanent or traditional workforce or temporaries, whatever it is. 2 more challenges HR will be facing. They have to be aspect. One is talked about the robots. This is what the mission versus man. How do you manage? How many people have done? I don't know in India how much we have advanced it, but there are some advanced countries that are very well off, be it Japan or Germany and so on. We are also learning, but you see, I think, once you have that capability, the confidence to do it is all possible. I mean, nobody thought we will virtually automation will happen to the extent which you're saying. As somebody said it in earlier, we are moving too fast in these matters, speed. But I think, in order to do that, you need to understand how the robot works versus how a workforce, a manual workforce or the technical workforce works. What is the DNA of this and versus that DNA, we need to understand. So I have not experienced it, but it's a challenge which I also foresee which can happen. The second thing which I want to say, since you are a managing director, managing the directors of the company. In a public limited company or especially listed company, the role of HR in terms of governance has enlarged after the Companies Act. Actually, for last 5 years, that is my specialization. I think with the nomination, board appointments are done through NRC, and evaluations of the board is done through HR. So I think a lot of changes have taken, a lot of egos of board, who is HR to decide my evaluation, but that is the reality of life. How do you influence them? The external independent directors, who are all celebrities, will be more challenging than the handling robots. So that is my submission.
Thank you, and I think it's time for us to conclude the session. I'll take off from where Mr. Dwarakanath stopped and quote a small anecdote or an allegory which our CEO made in our HR leadership meeting this year. He said the role of HR is akin to that of a sarathi or a charioteer, as you would know. The role is to guide the management on people imperatives. When organization is going through turbulent times and changing times, HR has to play that role of providing direction so that the competitive advantage of organizations, which is the people aspect, is not missed out on. So if you have to look at the impact of Industry 4.0 on HR, I would say that HR today is ideally placed to be directly involved in defining and fostering an organization culture where change is embraced rather than restricted, and where employees share a flexible and agile mindset that can respond and adopt to evolving and emerging technologies. We need to create new systems and attitudes that will help to harness and enhance human potential by partnering it with technology. But at the end of it, we need to remember, and this is a quote from Einstein, where he said that the human spirit has to dominate over technology. We cannot forget that people are at the crux of it. So no matter what the technological disruptions is, ensuring that the emotional connect, the relations that are there at the workplace are not missed out is one core imperative for HR in the era of innovation and disruption. Thank you so much. And thank you to the audience also for being patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Ma'am, may I request you to present mementos to our panelists. Mr. B. Dwarakanath, thank you very much, sir, from mentioning the need for high tech combined with high touch to being mindful of the Mali, from Mali to Malik, the need to learn, unlearn and relearn. He presented some very valid points for us to ponder on. Thank you very much, sir. Now, Mr. Abhay Kapoor, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for delineating the rate of disruption in the age of millennials. Thank you, sir. Now may I request Ms. L. Nirmala, Managing Committee Member of KMA, to please come up on stage and present a memento to our chairperson here, Ms. Rajeshri R. Thank you very much for moderating the session and also for sharing a slice of your experience with TCS. Those are two passionate young-minded women leaders. Thank you, thank you. So that was the finale, the final session. And now we are ready to pick the lucky winner, something that we've been mentioning right from the beginning of the day. So the time has finally come. And I request the President of KMA, Mr. Dinesh P. Thambi, to please come up and pick the lucky winners. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sirs. It was definitely a session worth paying attention to. As was mentioned earlier, we'll be picking up 3 lucky winners and they will have to be around. Some of our guests are not here, so I'm hoping we will pick winners who are here. Let's see. And I have the first name. It's Miss Anina Annie Tom. Anina is here? Yes, please come. And next we have Miss Anu Cherian. Miss Anu Cherian, are you here? Is that Miss Anu? No. Okay. Next I have Miss Reshma. Miss Reshma Joy. Was that the scream of surprise? Yes, please come. So we've got 2 lucky winners here. We would like to find out one more person. Dr. Riji is not here. This is Reshma, right? Congratulations, Ms. Reshma. So we have Ms. Sridevi Ratish. Yes, we have Ms. Sridevi Ratish. So we have 3 women, 3 young ladies who are lucky winners today. Yes, that definitely needs more cheers. Thank you. Please come. Ms. Sridevi. I hope you enjoyed the day. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, ma'am. And congratulations to all the lucky winners. Thank you all. It was a day packed with knowledge sharing, idea sharing sessions. We are here to mark the closure of the Regional Management Conclave that has been jointly organized by All India Management Association and KMA. We will close with the national anthem. Let us rise for the national anthem, please.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Do join us for tea, for some light refreshments. We've arranged for tea on the right side. We are hoping to meet you all in the next gathering. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.